Sung Jinwoo is getting used to his new life inspired by video games. Even though he's getting stronger, he might not be ready for the challenge in the dungeon he's in. But he can't just run away. Jinwoo wants to shake off the emotional burden he's carrying, so he has to confront the danger in Solo Leveling Episode 4, titled I've Gotta Get Stronger. In this episode, there's a bunch of action as Jinwoo spends most of the time fighting through the dungeon. He keeps facing off against steel-fanged lichens and other dangers. These fights show him how much better he's become from his recent training. The heavy focus on action, though, has a downside that holds Solo Leveling Episode 4 back from reaching its full potential. The episode begins with Jinwoo facing a steel-fanged Raikan. He notices he's not as weak as before and courageously battles the monster. During their intense fight, he realizes that causing physical harm without weapons won't work. Thinking fast, he understands he needs weapons to defeat the fierce wolf threatening him. He swiftly takes out a sword from his system's inventory and uses it to ultimately defeat the monster. The anime also clearly explains how Jinwoo's inventory works. It's like RPG games, giving him the power to sell any items he gets from monsters he defeats, and these items are valued as gold in the system's currency. The system also offers a buying feature for Jinwoo, allowing him to easily purchase necessary magical items and weapons, similar to a role-playing video game. The system is designed to make sure Jinwoo gets the items he needs to become stronger. Jinwoo keeps exploring the dungeons and faces many steel-fanged Raikens. He successfully defeats all of them, and it's clear he is leveling up fast, showing that our once-weak hunter is now strong. Additionally, there's a reward for reaching a specific condition during the leveling process. Jinwoo earns the title of Wolf Slayer. In the manhwa, this title isn't just for display, it comes with a perk bonus that says, a title given to a hunter proficient in fights against wolf. It's a worthwhile reward for all the wolf monsters he slayed, as he given a status 40% increased experience against beast-type monsters. If you've ever played RPG games, you know how it feels to begin by tackling easy quests and defeating low-level monsters to level up your character, and in the long run, as you level up more, you will fight stronger enemies and get rare items or equipment. This episode gives the audience that same vibe. Jinwoo, determined to become even stronger despite facing extreme danger, chooses to finish the dungeon. This special dungeon appears to be made for the selected player as a training area. In the manhwa, it's further explained why it's like a training ground. It is because monsters in this dungeon keep coming back to life. Jinwoo puts in the effort to defeat monsters and gain experience to level up. Also in the manhwa, he notices that there is a specific pattern of how the monsters behave and their tactical approach to ambush him. It's no surprise that he notices the fights getting a bit easier each time he levels up. The system also aids Jinwoo in sizing up his enemies by color names. White means a weaker monster, orange indicates a strong one or a player at an equal level as explained in the anime, and red signifies a formidable opponent. We didn't see his status screen after he was level 2. And I'm not going back to count how many times the level up screen appeared. But his precise level isn't what matters right now. What matters for now is how leveling up impacts his stats. So, every time Jinwoo levels up, he gains a point in each of his 5 major stats. If you're curious, the main stats are strength, agility, perception, vitality, and intelligence. There are also HP and MP stats, but it seems they don't go up when you level up. I'd guess those are 2 stats that stay the same, at least based on what makes sense and what we understand about this world. What do you think? His HP is basically his health, so it makes sense that it doesn't increase. We already know your MP is determined when you awaken. Seeing his MP is still only at 11 could be evidence that he didn't go through a second awakening. Why does leveling up carry such significant power? Despite the limitation of not being able to choose where the points are allocated, Jinwoo gains a substantial 5 ability points with each level up, surpassing the 3 points provided by daily training. Interestingly, even though he directs all his daily points towards strengthening his physical prowess, it may not necessarily be the optimal choice. The leveling up process, however, compels him to develop a more balanced set of abilities, fostering a well-rounded skill set that proves beneficial in the long run. This dynamic shift in approach not only enhances his overall capabilities but also contributes to a more versatile and adaptable skill profile, ultimately shaping a more formidable and resilient character. Even though Jinwoo's go-to response to every threat might be the same, the animation excels in making it visually captivating. Each movement conveys a remarkable sense of speed. When blows land, you feel them. Powerful impacts send characters soaring, and every cut leads to copious amounts of blood spilling on the ground. Despite the straightforward combat strategy, the visual impact never fails to leave a strong impression. The standout aspect of Solo Leveling Episode 4 is its exploration of Jinwoo's emotional challenges. Previously, Jinwoo appeared somewhat content with his previous power level, despite yearning for more. He seemed to accept his position, believing change was impossible. However, with a new path ahead, we discover that Jinwoo has been carrying a burden of shame. The criticism from other hunters weighs heavily on his spirit. This shame becomes a driving force, pushing him forward even when an opportunity to escape the dungeon arises. This examination of his past standing in the hunter community seems to clarify why he tackles challenges the way he does. He views power as the sole factor distinguishing winners from losers. While this insight explains why his initial response is to hit harder, it doesn't resolve the limitations of relying on that approach as the ultimate solution. To further highlight the incredible impact of leveling up, let's delve into the encounter with the King of the Swamp. Jinwoo makes an assumption about its ranking, estimating it to be a C-rank boss based on the items it drops. If that assessment holds true, it signifies a substantial leap in Jinwoo's abilities, all achieved through the battles with seemingly ordinary monsters. This observation not only underscores the potency of the leveling up process but also hints at the remarkable progress and growth Jinwoo has experienced in confronting even the more formidable challenges within the solo leveling world. Ultimately, he managed to defeat the King of the Swamp using only his bare hands. Strangling it to death, he overcame the challenge even though he couldn't completely wrap his arms around it. In my opinion, achieving such a feat would place Jinwoo at a minimum of B rank. Considering what unfolds later in the episode, it's possible that he might even hold a higher rank than B. It's worth noting that all this comes from defeating low-ranked monsters and a single boss. Just picture how powerful he could become after facing monsters that aren't pushovers. He might reach Saitama levels of strength in no time. Honestly, I wasn't too impressed with this fight. I'm sure some people thought it was cool and others might see the King of the Swamp as a tough opponent for Jinwoo to beat. But do I agree? Not really. During the whole battle, Jinwoo kept talking about how weak he was and how fast and strong the King of the Swamp was. However, it never felt like Jinwoo was truly in danger. If you want proof, just check out all the attacks he managed to endure. He took some really tough hits even through cement pillars. Yet, he managed to get up without any major injuries. This alone shows how strong Jinwoo had become by this point. The boss wasn't stronger than him, he was just underestimating himself. When Jinwoo finally leaves the instance dungeon, the dungeon break is nearly under control. There's only one monster remaining, the boss. Jinwoo uses his perception to determine it's probably a D-rank boss, which means it's weaker than the C-rank boss he just defeated all by himself. So, what does Jinwoo do? Does he jump into the fray and save the other hunters by taking out the boss on his own? That's what I expected him to do. But that's not what happened. Instead, he threw a sword at the boss, shattering its defenses. This allowed the other hunters to finish it off. Why didn't Jinwoo get more involved? If I were him, I'd want to flaunt my newfound strength, prove to everyone that I'm not the weakest hunter anymore. But I suppose with his increased intelligence stat, Jinwoo must have a plan. Solo Leveling Episode 4 brings a stunning combat scenes and delves into the characters. Although the final strategy Jinwoo uses to win may not be very original, there's still a lot to appreciate. Since it's only Episode 4, upcoming challenges might push the developing hunter to rely on more than just his fists. What do you think of Solo Leveling Episode 4? Which of the 5 major stats would you put your ability points into? Did you also think that the King of the Swamp fight wasn't as hard as Jinwoo made it out to be? And what rank do you think Jinwoo is by the end of the episode? If you like this highlights review and recap, please hit the like button. For more anime updates, click the subscribe button and the notification bell.